The wrench slipped from my grease-stained fingers at 11:47 p.m., clattering against the concrete floor of my garage like a gunshot in the silence. I was elbow-deep in the engine of my beat-up Ford pickup when my phone buzzed on the workbench. The notification light blinked blue, a voice memo from my wife Sloane. Weird. She never sent voice memos, especially not this late. I wiped my hands on an old rag and picked up the phone, expecting maybe a grocery list or a reminder about some social event I'd inevitably forgotten. I hit play. God, Jenny, I can't take much more of this charade. Sloane's voice was crystal clear, tinged with that particular brand of contempt I'd been hearing more often lately. David's in the garage again, playing with his little truck like some teenager. It's pathetic. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. This wasn't meant for me. It was meant for her sister Jenny. But somehow, in whatever cosmic joke the universe was playing, it had landed in my inbox instead. I mean, look at him, she continued, and I could hear the clink of a wine glass in the background. 42 years old, still thinks he's going to make it big with his construction business? We're barely keeping the lights on while he chases pipe dreams and fixes junk cars. I sank onto my work stool, the phone trembling in my hand. 15 years of marriage, and this is what she really thought of me? The worst part is the intimacy, Jen. God, it's like sleeping with a grateful puppy. All that enthusiasm and zero skill. Thank Christ I'm still getting the real thing from Trent, or I'd have lost my mind by now. Trent. Trent Morrison, who owned the luxury car dealership downtown. Trent, who I'd met at barbecues, who'd shaken my hand and complimented my wife's cooking. Trent, who was apparently screwing my wife. I keep telling myself it's temporary, Sloane's voice droned on. Once his mother finally kicks the bucket and we get that inheritance, I can file for divorce and take half of everything. Then it's goodbye, blue-collar loser, hello, real life. The memo ended with a beep that seemed to echo in the sudden silence of my garage. I sat there for maybe 10 minutes, just staring at the phone. The rational part of my brain kept insisting this was some kind of mistake, some misunderstanding. But the audio was clear, unmistakable. That was my wife's voice, talking about our marriage like it was a prison sentence she was serving for money. Finally, I stood up, walked to the workbench, and very carefully set down my phone. Then I picked up the wrench and hurled it as hard as I could at the far wall. It left a dent in the drywall that I'd probably never fix. My hands were shaking as I saved the voice memo to 3 different cloud storage accounts. Then I forwarded it to myself on 2 different email addresses, just to be sure. By the time I walked into the house at 12:30 a.m., I had a plan. Sloane was asleep in our bed, her blonde hair spread across the pillow like she was posing for a magazine. She looked peaceful, innocent even. It was hard to reconcile this sleeping woman with the voice that had just torn my world apart. I packed quietly, taking only what I absolutely needed. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop, and the folder of important documents I kept in my desk drawer. Everything else could wait. I left the house at 5:15 a.m. before Sloane's alarm went off. But first, I did 3 things. I transferred half the money from our joint checking account to my personal account, money I'd earned, money that was legally mine. I canceled the joint credit cards and removed myself from our shared cell phone plan. And I forwarded that voice memo to Sloane herself, along with a simple message. Listen to yourself. Then listen to what you've lost. I was sitting in Lou's gym at 6 a.m. when my phone started blowing up. Lou Castellano had been running the same dive gym for 30 years, ever since he'd retired from the police force. The place smelled like sweat, old leather, and the industrial disinfectant Lou used to mop the floors. It was my sanctuary, the one place in this town where nobody gave a damn about your job title or your wife's social status. You look like hell, Lou said, looking up from the ancient cash register where he was counting the previous day's take. And you're here early, even for you. Marriage trouble, I said, setting my duffel bag on the floor. Lou nodded sagely. He'd been divorced twice and had the wisdom of experience. Want to talk about it? Not yet, but I might need a place to crash for a few days. Upstairs apartment's empty, $50 a week, utilities included. My phone buzzed again. Another call from Sloane. I declined it and looked at the growing list of missed calls and unread text messages. Make it 100, I said, and throw in use of the gym after hours. Deal. Lou extended a meaty hand and we shook on it. Whatever's going on, David, just remember, sometimes you got to burn bridges to keep the bastards from following you across. I spent the morning setting up in Lou's spare apartment, a studio space above the gym that was basic but clean. One room, a kitchenette, and a bathroom that had seen better days but functioned perfectly well. It was exactly what I needed. Simple, private, and far enough from my old life to think clearly. By noon, I had 17 missed calls from Sloane and 43 text messages ranging from confused to furious to pleading. I ignored them all. Instead, I called my lawyer. David, good to hear from you, said Patricia Wells, the attorney who'd handled our house purchase and business incorporation. What can I do for you? I need to know my rights in a divorce, Pat. Specifically, what happens to assets when one spouse has been cheating. There was a pause. I see. Can you come in this afternoon? This isn't really a phone conversation. I'll be there at 2. The law office was in one of the nicer buildings downtown, all glass and steel trying to compete with the bigger cities. Patricia was a sharp woman in her 50s who'd built her practice on being thorough and honest. 2 qualities I desperately needed right now. Tell me everything, she said once I was seated across from her desk. I played her the voice memo. She listened without comment, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. This is pretty damning evidence of adultery, she said when it finished. In this state, that can definitely impact asset division. But I have to ask, how did you obtain this recording? She sent it to me by mistake. It was meant for her sister. Patricia nodded. That's important. You didn't record her without consent or hack into her accounts. She sent it directly to you, even if accidentally. That makes it admissible. We spent the next hour going over my options. The house was in both our names, but I'd made the down payment from my inheritance when my father died. The construction business was solely mine. Our joint accounts could be divided, but my business accounts were separate. What about her debts? I asked. What debts? I don't know yet. But in that recording, she mentioned barely keeping the lights on. Our finances aren't that tight unless she's spending money I don't know about. Patricia made another note. We'll need to do a complete financial disclosure as part of the divorce proceedings. If she's been hiding debts or expenses, that will come out. I left the law office feeling better than I had since the night before. Knowledge was power, and I was starting to understand just how much power I might have. My phone rang as I walked to my truck. Unknown number. David, it's Jenny, Sloane's sister, the intended recipient of last night's voice memo. Hey, Jenny. Look, I know this is awkward, but Sloane is freaking out. She's been calling me all morning, crying, saying you left and won't answer your phone. Did she tell you why I left? A pause. She said you had some kind of misunderstanding. Play her voice memo from last night, Jenny, the one she meant to send you, then tell me if you think it was a misunderstanding. Another pause, longer this time. Oh shit, David, I never got any voice memo. Check your messages again, because if you didn't get it, that means she sent it to me instead of you, which means everything she said about our marriage, about her affair, about waiting for my mother to die so she could divorce me. She said all of that directly to me. Oh, God. David, I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry for me, Jenny. Be sorry for your sister, because she just destroyed 15 years of marriage with one accidentally honest moment. I hung up and climbed into my truck. As I drove back toward the gym, I passed Morrison Luxury Cars, Trent's dealership. His personal car, a bright red Corvette, was parked in the spot marked Owner, right in front of the showroom. I pulled into the lot and sat there for a moment, engine running, looking at that perfect red car. Then I reached into my glove compartment and pulled out my keys. The scratch I carved into the driver's side door was deep and deliberate, running from the front fender to the rear wheel well. It would cost thousands to fix properly. I left a note under his windshield wiper. "Enjoy your new ride, asshole." The husband. Security cameras probably caught the whole thing, but I didn't care. Some things were worth the consequences. My phone was ringing again as I drove away. This time it was Trent Morrison himself. I answered on the fourth ring. "You bastard!" he screamed into the phone. "You keyed my car!" "Prove it," I said calmly. "I've got you on camera." "Then call the cops. But while you're at it, maybe explain to them why the husband of your mistress might be angry with you." Silence on the other end. "That's what I thought," I continued. "Here's how this works, Trent. You stay away from my wife, you stay away from me, and maybe your insurance will cover the damage to your car. Keep screwing around with my marriage, and the car will be the least of your problems." I hung up and turned off my phone. The next morning brought a pounding on Lou's front door at 7 a.m. I was downstairs in the gym, working out my frustrations on a heavy bag, when I heard Lou's voice carrying through the building. "She's not here, lady. And even if she was, you'd need to calm down before I'd let you talk to anyone." I climbed the stairs to find Lou blocking the doorway, his considerable bulk preventing someone from entering. Over his shoulder, I could see Sloane's perfectly styled blonde hair and her red Mercedes parked illegally in the fire lane. "David!" she called out when she saw me. "We need to talk." "No, we don't," I said, staying well behind Lou. "You can't just disappear. We're married. We have responsibilities." "Like your responsibility not to screw other men?" I asked. "How's that working out for you?" She tried to push past Lou, but he didn't budge. "Ma'am, you need to leave. This is private property." "I know my rights," Sloane snapped. "I'm his wife." "And I'm the property owner," Lou replied calmly. "And I'm telling you to leave before I call the police." "Fine." She stepped back, her face flushed with anger. "But this isn't over, David. You can't hide forever." She stormed back to her Mercedes and peeled out of the parking lot, leaving rubber marks on the asphalt. "Friend of yours?" Lou asked with a grin. "Soon-to-be ex-wife." "Ah, the Voice Memo lady." I'd told Lou the whole story the night before over a couple of beers. He'd listened without judgment, occasionally shaking his head or muttering under his breath. "She'll be back," he said now. "They always come back when they realize they can't control the situation anymore." He was right. Over the next 3 days, Sloane showed up at the gym twice more, called my business phone constantly, and even tried to get my mother involved by telling her I was having a midlife crisis. That backfired spectacularly when my mother called me. "David, honey, Sloane says you're going through some kind of breakdown." "Mom, did she tell you why I moved out?" "She said you had a fight about money." I played her the voice memo. The silence that followed lasted nearly a full minute. "That little witch," my mother finally said. My 70-year-old mother, who'd never used profanity in my presence, called my wife a witch. "Mom, no, David, just no. I never liked her, you know that. Too fancy, too concerned with appearances. But I kept my mouth shut because you seemed happy. But this is unforgivable. She mentioned waiting for you to die so she could get the inheritance. Over my dead body. I'm calling my lawyer tomorrow to make sure she doesn't get a penny." Word was spreading through our social circle like wildfire. In a town this size, secrets didn't keep long, especially when they involved affairs and public confrontations. My business partner Jake called on Thursday. "Dude, is it true about Sloane and Trent Morrison?" "Where'd you hear that?" "Everywhere, man. It's all over town. People are saying you keyed his car and moved out. People are saying a lot of things." "So it's true?" The affair? Yeah. The car? Can't prove it was me. Jake laughed. Good for you, man. I never liked her anyway. Too good for the rest of us, you know. But not everyone was supportive. My old friend Mike Hendricks called that afternoon. David, what the hell is going on? Sloane called Lisa crying, saying you're spreading lies about her. Mike and I had been friends since high school. His wife Lisa and Sloane had become close over the years, bonding over their shared love of expensive restaurants and designer handbags. They're not lies, Mike. She recorded herself saying all of it. Come on, man. Marriage problems happen. But this public humiliation thing? That's not like you. You're right. The old me would have just taken it and tried to work things out. But the old me didn't know his wife was screwing around and planning to divorce him for money. Even if that's true, airing your dirty laundry in public isn't going to help anything. Mike, whose side are you on here? A pause. I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying, maybe you should think about counseling or something before you do anything you'll regret. I already regret something, Mike. I regret wasting 15 years on a woman who thinks I'm a pathetic loser. David, I hung up. That evening, I was having dinner at Murphy's Tavern, a dive bar near the gym that served decent burgers and minded its own business. I was halfway through a bacon cheeseburger when Gina Walsh slid into the booth across from me. Gina was Sloane's best friend, a socialite who owned a trendy wine bar downtown called Vintage. She was attractive in that carefully maintained way that screamed money and time, with auburn hair that had never seen a box dye and clothes that cost more than my truck payment. David, we need to talk. No, we don't. Sloane is devastated. She's barely eating, barely sleeping. This whole thing is destroying her. I set down my burger and looked at her. Good. Gina blinked, clearly not expecting that response. Good? She repeated. Yeah, good. She destroyed our marriage, Gina. She's been lying to me for God knows how long, screwing another man, and planning to divorce me the minute my mother dies. So, yeah, I'm glad she's devastated. She should be. People make mistakes, David. She loves you. She loves my potential inheritance. She said so herself. You're taking that recording out of context. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table. Want to hear it again? Because I've got the whole thing right here. Gina's perfectly applied makeup couldn't hide the way her face went pale. She was just venting to her sister. People say things they don't mean when they're frustrated. Which part didn't she mean, Gina? The part where she called me pathetic? The part where she complained about our intimate life? Or the part where she admitted to cheating with Trent Morrison? David, please. If you love her, I did love her. For 15 years, I loved her completely. I worked my ass off to give her the life she wanted, put her needs first, supported her career even when it meant sacrificing my own opportunities. And the whole time, she thought I was a joke. I stood up and threw a 20 on the table. Tell Sloane I said thanks for the honesty. It's the first real thing she's given me in years. I walked out of Murphy's feeling lighter than I had in days. But as I drove back to the gym, I started thinking about what Gina had said. Not the part about Sloane being devastated. I didn't care about that anymore. But the part about taking the recording out of context. There was no context that made what Sloane said acceptable. But there might be more context I didn't know about yet. Back in my apartment, I opened my laptop and started digging into our finances. I'd always left most of the money management to Sloane. She was better with numbers, more organized, better at keeping track of bills and investments. I focused on earning money. She focused on managing it. Now I wondered what else she'd been managing. Our joint checking account showed regular deposits from both our incomes and regular withdrawals for household expenses. Nothing unusual there, but when I looked at the credit card statements, I found something interesting. Charges at expensive restaurants I'd never been to, hotel rooms in the city when Sloane was supposedly visiting her sister, purchases at Victoria's Secret and other lingerie stores when she'd been complaining for months that money was too tight for new clothes. Then I found the real smoking gun. A separate credit card account I'd never seen before. One that was in both our names but sent to a P.O. box I didn't know we had. The balance was $47,000. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. $47,000 in secret debt, all accumulated over the past 2 years. Expensive dinners, hotel rooms, jewelry, clothes, spa treatments, a whole secret life funded by credit I'd never agreed to. No wonder she'd mentioned barely keeping the lights on. She'd been living a double life and financing it with debt that would become my responsibility in a divorce. I printed out every statement and added them to the folder I was building for my lawyer. Patricia was going to love this. My phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. "Stop spreading lies about my wife or you'll regret it. T. Trent Morrison, apparently branching out from car sales to intimidation." I texted back, "Which lies? The ones she recorded herself saying? Check your own security cameras, tough guy. You'll see what regret looks like." He didn't respond, but 20 minutes later, I got a call from Sloane. "David, please, you have to stop this. Trent is talking about calling the police." "Let him. I'd love to explain to the cops why I keyed his car." "This isn't you, David. You're not vindictive like this." "You're right. The old me wasn't vindictive. The old me was trusting and loyal and stupid enough to believe his wife meant her wedding vows. But that guy died when he heard what you really think of him." "I didn't mean those things. I was just frustrated, venting to Jenny. I never meant for you to hear that." "I know you didn't mean for me to hear it. That's what makes it the truth, Sloane. When you thought I couldn't hear you, you told the world exactly what our marriage means to you. We can fix this. We can go to counseling, work through our problems." "Our problems? Sloane, you've been cheating on me and racking up secret debt for years. Those aren't problems to work through. Those are betrayals to recover from. I made mistakes. You made choices. And now I'm making mine." I hung up and turned off my phone. Tomorrow, I was going to start making some very interesting choices indeed. Friday morning brought an unexpected visitor to the gym. I was spotting for Moose Patterson, a regular who'd earned his nickname through sheer size rather than any lack of intelligence, when Lou called out from the front desk, "David, you got company." I looked over to see a woman in her 30s, professionally dressed, but with the kind of tired eyes that spoke of long hours and difficult cases. She held up a badge. "Detective Sarah Chen, Metro Police. Could we talk privately?" My stomach dropped. Trent had actually called the cops about his car. We went upstairs to my apartment, where Detective Chen declined my offer of coffee and got straight to business. "Mr. Kellerman, we received a complaint about vandalism to a vehicle at Morrison Luxury Cars. The owner claims to have security footage of you damaging his personal car." "Am I under arrest?" "Not at this time. I'm here to get your side of the story." I gestured to the kitchen table, and we both sat down. "Trent Morrison is having an affair with my wife," I said. "I found out 3 days ago when she accidentally sent me a voice recording meant for her sister. In that recording, she detailed their relationship and made it clear our marriage was a sham." Detective Chen took notes as I talked. "So, you decided to damage his car in retaliation?" "I decided to express my feelings about the situation. By keying his Corvette. Allegedly." She almost smiled at that. "Mr. Kellerman, I have to ask, is there any chance this could escalate further? Any threats made, any plans for additional retaliation?" "Detective, I'm a 42-year-old construction contractor going through a divorce. I'm not planning to burn down his dealership or anything. I just want to get on with my life." "What about your wife? Any threats toward her?" "None. I moved out, filed for divorce, and I'm trying to stay away from her. She's the one who keeps showing up places trying to talk to me." Detective Chen finished her notes and closed her notebook. "Here's the thing, Mr. Kellerman. Technically, you committed a crime. Vandalism, destruction of property. Mr. Morrison could press charges." But when I talked to him, he seemed more interested in making sure you stayed away from him than in actually prosecuting. And between you and me, half the department knows about his reputation with married women. You're not the first husband to express their displeasure with his behavior. She stood up and handed me her card. Stay out of trouble, Mr. Kellerman, and maybe find a more legal way to work through your anger. After she left, I sat in my apartment thinking about what she'd said. Half the department knew about Trent's reputation with married women. That meant Sloane wasn't his first affair, probably wasn't even his current only affair. I was just the latest in a long line of cuckolded husbands. The thought should have made me feel worse, but instead, it clarified something for me. This wasn't about love or passion or even attraction. This was about power and conquest for Trent, and about excitement and status for Sloane. I was collateral damage in their game. That afternoon, I drove to Patricia's office for our follow-up meeting. I brought the credit card statements and bank records I'd discovered, along with a written timeline of everything that had happened since I'd received the voice memo. This is very helpful, Patricia said, reviewing the financial documents. The secret debt significantly changes the asset division calculation. In fact, since she incurred this debt without your knowledge for non-marital purposes, you may not be responsible for any of it. What do you mean? Debt incurred by one spouse for their own benefit without the other spouse's knowledge or consent can be considered separate debt in divorce proceedings, especially when that debt was used to fund an extramarital affair. She pulled out a calculator and started running numbers. Based on what I'm seeing here, and factoring in the house, your business, and the separate debt, you could actually come out ahead in this divorce. Significantly ahead. How significantly? You keep the business, you keep your separate accounts, you get your share of the house equity, and she's responsible for the credit card debt. Plus, in this state, adultery can impact alimony calculations. For the first time since this whole mess started, I smiled. There's one more thing, I said, and told her about Detective Chen's visit and her comment about Trent's reputation. Interesting. That suggests a pattern of behavior that could be relevant if we need character witnesses. You mean other wives he's screwed around with? I mean other situations where his actions have caused marital problems. If we can establish a pattern, it strengthens your case and potentially creates additional leverage. I left Patricia's office feeling better than I had in days, but my good mood was short-lived. My phone had 17 missed calls, all from the same number. When I called it back, Mike Hendricks answered on the first ring. Jesus, David, where have you been? I've been trying to reach you all afternoon. I was at my lawyer's office. What's wrong? It's your mother. She's in the hospital. The world tilted sideways. What happened? Heart attack. Lisa got a call from Sloane about an hour ago. She's at Metro General in the ICU. I was in my truck and driving before Mike finished talking. Metro General was a 20-minute drive that I made in 12. I ran through the parking garage and took the elevator to the ICU, where I found Sloane sitting in the waiting room, her eyes red from crying. David, thank God, she said, standing up when she saw me. The doctors won't tell me anything because I'm not family. How is she? What happened? She collapsed at home this morning. The neighbor found her and called 911. She's been in surgery for 3 hours. A doctor in scrubs approached us. Are you David Kellerman? Yes, that's my mother, Margaret Kellerman. Dr. Williams, your mother suffered a massive heart attack. We've performed emergency surgery to clear a blocked artery, but the next 24 hours are critical. Can I see her? She's sedated and on a ventilator, but yes, family only though. I looked at Sloane. Wait here. My mother looked impossibly small in the hospital bed, surrounded by machines and tubes. Her face was pale, her breathing assisted by the ventilator. I took her hand and sat down in the chair beside her bed. I'm here, Mom, I whispered. I'm right here. I don't know how long I sat there, but eventually, a nurse came in to check her vitals. Are you her son? Yes. She's stable for now. The surgery went well, but it's going to be a long recovery. Do you have other family who should be notified? No, it's just me. When I came back to the waiting room, Sloane was gone. In her place sat Gina Walsh, scrolling through her phone. "Where's Sloane?" "She went home to get some things. She said she was going to stay here tonight." "No, she's not." Gina looked up from her phone. "David, whatever's between you two, this isn't the time." "You're right. This isn't the time for her to play the devoted daughter-in-law for sympathy. She's not family anymore, Gina. She made that clear when she decided our marriage was a joke. She loves your mother. She loves my mother's will. There's a difference." I called hospital security and explained the situation. Within an hour, I'd made sure that only I was listed as next of kin and authorized to make medical decisions. Sloane would have to wait in the general waiting area like any other visitor. When she came back with an overnight bag, she was furious. "They won't let me into the ICU. They said I'm not authorized." "That's right. David, she's been like a mother to me for 15 years. And you've been planning her death for at least 2. Remember? You were waiting for her to kick the bucket so you could divorce me and take half her money." Sloane's face went white. "I never said that." "Want me to play the recording again? Because I've got it right here." She looked around the waiting room, suddenly aware that other people were listening. "We need to talk privately," she said. "No, we don't. We need you to leave so I can focus on my mother's recovery. I have every right to be here. You have the right to sit in the general waiting room like any other visitor. But you don't have the right to pretend we're still married when it's convenient for you." Gina stood up and put her arm around Sloane. "Come on, honey. Let's go get some coffee and let David cool down." "I don't need to cool down, Gina. I need my cheating wife to stop using my mother's heart attack as an opportunity for sympathy and reconciliation." They left, but I knew they'd be back. I spent the night in the ICU waiting room, dozing in an uncomfortable chair and checking on my mother every hour when the nurses allowed it. Around 3 a.m., she opened her eyes for the first time. "David?" "I'm here, Mom." "What happened?" "You had a heart attack. You're in the hospital, but you're going to be okay." She squeezed my hand weakly. "Where's Sloane?" "She's not here right now." My mother studied my face in the dim light from the hallway. "Good," she whispered, and closed her eyes again. The next morning brought better news. My mother's condition had stabilized overnight, and the doctors were optimistic about her recovery. She was awake more often and breathing on her own. It also brought an unexpected revelation. I was in the hospital cafeteria grabbing coffee when I overheard a conversation at the next table. 2 women, one of whom I recognized as Janet Morrison, Trent's wife. "I just can't believe he's doing it again," Janet was saying to her companion. "I thought after the last time when I threatened to leave, he'd learned his lesson." "Some men never learn," the other woman replied. "Who is it this time?" "Some blonde woman. Sloane something. I found hotel receipts in his car, credit card charges at jewelry stores. The same pattern as before." I nearly choked on my coffee. "Are you going to confront him?" "I'm going to do better than that. I'm going to take him for everything he's worth. My lawyer says with his history of adultery and the prenup he made me sign, I can get the house, half the business, and permanent alimony." "Good for you." The funny thing is, I feel sorry for this Sloane woman. She probably thinks she's special, that he's going to leave me for her. But he said the same thing to the last 3. Men like Trent don't leave their wives. They just keep collecting mistresses until someone forces their hand. I sat there for a long time after they left, processing what I'd heard. Sloane wasn't Trent's first affair. She wasn't even his most recent affair. She was just another conquest in a long line of married women he'd seduced with promises he never intended to keep, and she had no idea. For the first time since this whole mess started, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. My mother was moved out of the ICU on Tuesday, 3 days after her heart attack. The doctors said her recovery was progressing well, but she'd need at least another week in the hospital and months of rehabilitation afterward. I was helping her with lunch when Sloane appeared in the doorway, carrying a bouquet of flowers and wearing her most contrite expression. Margaret, how are you feeling? My mother looked at her coolly. I've been better. I brought you some flowers from the garden. Your favorites, the yellow roses. How thoughtful. My mother's voice could have frozen water. Sloane looked confused by the chilly reception. She'd always gotten along well with my mother, or so I'd thought. David, could we talk outside? No. Please, just 5 minutes. My mother squeezed my hand. Go ahead, honey, I'll be fine. In the hallway, Sloane immediately went on the offensive. You can't keep shutting me out like this. Whatever problems we have, your mother is still important to me. Really? Important enough to wait for her death so you can cash in? I never said that. Sloane, I have the recording. I can play it right now if you want to refresh your memory. She looked around nervously. The hospital corridor was busy with nurses, doctors, and visitors. I was upset when I said those things. I didn't mean them. Which part didn't you mean? The part about screwing Trent? Or the part about planning to divorce me for money? All of it. I was just venting, saying things I didn't really feel. Okay, let's test that theory. Are you still sleeping with Trent? She hesitated just long enough to give me the answer. I thought so, I said. So you meant that part. What about the divorce? Still planning to file as soon as my mother dies? David, please. And the money? Still think I'm a pathetic loser who can't provide the lifestyle you deserve? Stop it. No, Sloane. You stop it. Stop pretending this is all a misunderstanding. Stop acting like you're the victim here. And stop using my mother's illness as an excuse to force conversations we don't need to have. I started to walk away, but she grabbed my arm. David, wait. There's something you don't understand about Trent and me. I understand plenty. No, you don't. It's not what you think. Something in her voice made me stop and turn around. Then tell me what it is. She looked around again, then pulled me into an empty family conference room. Trent told me he was getting divorced. He said his wife knew about us, and they were working out a settlement. He said once his divorce was final, we could be together openly. I stared at her. And you believed that? Why wouldn't I? He showed me papers from his lawyer, talked about the property division, the timeline for everything. Sloane, I was in the hospital cafeteria yesterday and heard his wife talking to a friend. She just found out about the affair. She's not getting divorced. She's planning to take him to the cleaners for cheating. The color drained from Sloane's face. That's impossible. He said he lied. Just like he lied to the 3 women before you. 3 women? According to his wife, you're just the latest in a long line of affairs. He has a pattern, Sloane. He seduces married women, promises to leave his wife, strings them along for months or years, then moves on to the next conquest. She sank into one of the conference room chairs. You're lying. Why would I lie about this? I hate you both equally at this point. Because you want me back. You think if you can convince me Trent doesn't love me. Sloane, I don't want you back. I wouldn't take you back if you came crawling on your knees. You destroyed our marriage, lied to me for years, and racked up $47,000 in secret debt to finance your affair. You're the worst thing that ever happened to me. And I thank God every day that I found out the truth before wasting any more of my life on you. She was crying now, mascara running down her cheeks. $47,000? The credit card account you opened in both our names, the one you've been using for hotels and dinners and lingerie. Did you really think I wouldn't find out about that? I was going to tell you. When? After the divorce? When it became my problem? I was going to pay it back. With what money? Your salary barely covers your car payment and shopping habit. She was sobbing now, the full, ugly cry that she'd always been able to use to get her way in arguments. But this time, it just made me angry. Save the tears, Sloane. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them. I left her in the conference room and went back to my mother's room. How did it go? My mother asked. About like you'd expect. David, I need to tell you something. I changed my will last week after I heard that recording. Mom, you don't need to. Yes, I do. Everything goes to you now. The house, the investments, the life insurance. She won't get a penny. What if something happens to me? Then it all goes to charity, but not to her. Never to her. That evening, I was back at the gym when my phone rang. Unknown number again. David Kellerman? Yeah. This is Janet Morrison, Trent's wife. I think we need to talk. We met at a coffee shop downtown, away from anywhere we might run into mutual acquaintances. Janet was an attractive woman in her 40s, well-dressed but with the kind of tired eyes that spoke of years of disappointment. I know about your wife and my husband, she said without preamble. I figured. I also know you keyed his car. Good for you. That surprised me. You're not angry? I'm furious. But not at you. You're just another victim of Trent's hobby. Hobby? Collecting married women. He's been doing it for years. Always the same pattern. Finds a woman who's unhappy in her marriage, convinces her he's going to leave me for her, strings her along for months, then gets bored and moves on. How many? That I know about? 6, including your wife. And you stayed with him? Janet sipped her coffee and stared out the window. The first time I believed him when he said it was a mistake, that it would never happen again. The second time, I threatened to leave. He cried, begged, promised to go to counseling. The third time, I started planning my exit strategy. What changed? I got smart, started documenting everything, building a case. My lawyer says I can take him for half of everything, plus permanent alimony. The car dealership alone is worth over $2 million. So why are you talking to me? Because I want to make sure he doesn't wiggle out of this one. I need evidence of the current affair, hotel receipts, photos, witnesses, and I need to make sure your wife understands that he's never leaving me. What do you want me to do? Nothing illegal, but if you happen to know where they meet, when they meet, what credit cards he uses, that information would be very helpful to my attorney. I thought about it for a moment. Helping Janet would hurt both Sloane and Trent, which appealed to me, but it would also mean staying involved in their drama instead of moving on with my life. I'll think about it. Here's my card. Call me if you change your mind. After Janet left, I sat in the coffee shop thinking about everything that had happened over the past week. My marriage was over. My mother was recovering from a heart attack, and I was living in a studio apartment above a gym. But for the first time in years, I felt like I was in control of my own life. My phone buzzed with a text message from Mike Hendricks. We need to talk. Tonight, Murphy's Tavern, 8 p.m. I checked the time. 7:30. I could make it if I left now. Murphy's was crowded for a Tuesday night, but I found Mike at a corner table, nursing a beer and looking uncomfortable. He wasn't alone. Lisa was with him, along with 2 other couples I recognized from our old social circle. David, Mike said as I approached. Thanks for coming. What's this about? Sit down, please. I remained standing. Just say what you need to say, Mike. Lisa spoke up. David, we're worried about you. This whole situation with Sloane, it's gotten out of hand. Has it? The public humiliation, the property damage, keeping her away from your mother, it's not like you. You're right. The old me would have just taken it and tried to work things out. But the old me was a sucker. Sloane made a mistake, said Tom Bradley, another old friend. But marriages can survive infidelity. Look at Bill and Hillary Clinton. Did Bill record himself mocking Hillary's intimate performance and calling her a pathetic loser? The table went quiet. Because that's what Sloane did. She didn't just cheat. She humiliated me in the most personal way possible, then accidentally sent me the recording. Even so, Lisa said, the way you're handling this is just making everything worse. For who? For Sloane? Good. She deserves worse. For everyone, Mike said. Our whole social circle is taking sides. People are gossiping. It's affecting all of us. I looked around the table at these people I'd considered friends for years. So this isn't about me or my marriage. This is about your social comfort. That's not fair, Lisa said. Isn't it? You want me to quietly forgive and forget, so you don't have to deal with the awkwardness of choosing sides. We want you to handle this like an adult, Tom said. I am handling it like an adult. I'm divorcing my cheating wife and moving on with my life. What exactly do you want me to do differently? Stop making it public, Mike said. Stop embarrassing her. Handle it privately. She made it public when she sent me that recording. She made it public when she chose to have an affair with someone everyone in town knows. She made it public when she started showing up at my gym and my mother's hospital room, trying to force conversations. I pulled out my phone and set it on the table. You want to hear what she really thinks of all of you? Because she had some interesting things to say about your wives, too. The color drained from Mike's face. David, don't what? Don't let you hear the truth? Isn't that what got me into this mess in the first place? Not knowing the truth? I picked up my phone and headed for the door. You know what, Mike? You're right about one thing. This isn't like me. The old me cared more about keeping the peace than standing up for himself. But that guy died last week when he heard his wife's real opinion of him. I paused at the door and looked back at the table. If you want to stay friends with both of us, that's your choice. But don't expect me to make it easier by pretending this didn't happen. I walked out of Murphy's knowing I'd probably just lost the last of my old friends. But as I drove back to the gym, I realized I didn't care. For the first time in years, I was being completely honest about what I wanted and how I felt. It was terrifying and liberating at the same time. My phone was ringing when I got back to my apartment. Janet Morrison. I've been thinking about our conversation, I said when I answered. And? I'm in. What do you need? The plan Janet and I developed was simple and completely legal. She would hire a private investigator to document Trent's affair, and I would provide information about when and where Sloane was likely to be with him. It didn't take long. Sloane had been texting me constantly since our hospital confrontation, alternating between angry accusations and tearful pleas for reconciliation. In those messages, she'd inadvertently revealed their pattern. Tuesday lunches at the Riverside Hotel, Thursday evening business dinners at expensive restaurants, weekend getaways when she told me she was visiting her sister. Within 2 weeks, Janet's investigator had dozens of photos and hours of video evidence. Trent and Sloane entering hotel rooms, kissing in restaurant parking lots, shopping together at jewelry stores, a complete documentation of their affair. But Janet wanted more than just evidence for her divorce. She wanted public humiliation. He's embarrassed me for years, she told me during one of our coffee meetings. Made me look like a fool to everyone who knew about his affairs. Now it's his turn. The opportunity came sooner than expected. Every year, the Chamber of Commerce held a big fundraising gala at the convention center. It was the social event of the season, attended by every business owner, politician, and socialite in the city. Trent was on the organizing committee, and his dealership was a major sponsor. Janet was supposed to attend as his wife, but she had a better idea. I'm going to stand up during his speech and play a video montage of his greatest hits, she told me. Every affair, every lie, every promise he made to leave me, all set to music, like a wedding slideshow. That's pretty nuclear. He deserves nuclear. What about Sloane? What about her? She made her choice. I thought about it for a long time. Part of me wanted to see both Trent and Sloane publicly humiliated, but another part of me just wanted to be done with all of it. In the end, it was Sloane herself who made the decision for me. 3 days before the gala, she showed up at the gym again. This time, Lou wasn't there to run interference. He was at a doctor's appointment, leaving me alone in the building. We need to talk, she said, walking in like she owned the place. No, we don't. David, please. I know you're angry, but I've figured out what's really going on here. Have you? Trent's wife is manipulating you. She's using you to get evidence for her divorce. I looked up from the weight machine I was adjusting. And? And you're letting her use you for revenge against me. Maybe I am, so what? So this isn't about our marriage anymore. This is about you wanting to hurt me. I set down my tools and faced her directly. Sloane, our marriage ended the night you sent me that voice memo. Everything since then has just been cleanup. That's not true. We can still fix this. No, we can't. You know why? Because even now, even after everything that's happened, you're still lying to me. I'm not lying. You're still seeing Trent. She opened her mouth to deny it, then closed it again. I saw you with him yesterday, I continued, at the Riverside Hotel, same place you've been meeting for months. How did you… She stopped herself. How did I know? Because his wife hired a private investigator, and I've been helping her document your affair. The blood drained from her face. You bastard. Yeah, I am, and you know what? I'm good with that. For 15 years, I was the nice guy, the understanding husband, the man who put your needs first. And where did it get me? Cheated on, lied to, and publicly humiliated. David. So yeah, I'm helping Janet Morrison destroy your boyfriend. I'm helping her take him for everything he's worth, and when she's done with him, maybe you two can be broke together. Sloane was crying again, but this time it was different. This wasn't manipulative tears meant to get her way. This was genuine anguish. He told me he loved me. He told 6 other women the same thing. He said we were going to be together. He's never leaving his wife, Sloane. He never was. You were just entertainment. She collapsed into one of the gym's old chairs, sobbing. I've lost everything, haven't I? Yeah, you have. My marriage, my friends, my reputation, your credit rating, your financial security, your mother-in-law's inheritance. Stop. Why? You didn't stop when you were destroying our marriage. You didn't stop when you were racking up debt in my name. You didn't stop when you were mocking me to your sister. I sat down across from her. Sloane, I want you to understand something. I didn't do this to you. You did this to yourself. Every choice, every lie, every betrayal, that was you. I just stopped protecting you from the consequences. She looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. I never meant for any of this to happen. I know. You meant to keep your affair secret, divorce me after my mother died, and walk away with half of everything. But you got caught. What happens now? Now you figure out how to rebuild your life, just like I'm doing. She stood up slowly, like an old woman. Will you ever forgive me? I don't know. But it doesn't matter, because I'm never going to trust you again. And without trust, forgiveness is just words. She walked toward the door, then stopped and turned back. For what it's worth, I really did love you once. I know. I loved you too. But love isn't enough when one person decides the other isn't worth being honest with. After she left, I called Janet. She knows about the investigation. Good. Let her sweat for a few days. Are you still planning the gala thing? Absolutely. In fact, I have a better idea now. Instead of just embarrassing Trent, I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse. What kind of offer? The kind that ends this whole mess once and for all. The night of the gala, I put on my only good suit and drove to the convention center. I wasn't attending as a guest. I couldn't afford the $500 ticket even if I'd wanted to. Instead, I was there as Janet's backup, ready to provide moral support or call the police if things got out of hand. The ballroom was packed with the city's elite, all dressed in their finest clothes and putting on their most charitable faces. I spotted Sloane immediately. She was wearing a red dress I'd never seen before, standing near the bar with Gina Walsh. She looked nervous, constantly checking her phone and scanning the crowd. Trent was at the head table, schmoozing with other major donors and basking in the attention that came with being a community leader. He looked confident, relaxed, completely unaware of what was coming. Janet was nowhere to be seen. The dinner portion of the evening proceeded normally. Overpriced chicken, boring speeches about community service, and the usual auction of donated items. I watched from the back of the room, staying out of sight, but keeping an eye on the key players. At 9:30, the master of ceremonies introduced Trent as the evening's keynote speaker. He walked to the podium to polite applause, adjusted the microphone, and began his prepared remarks about the importance of local business supporting community initiatives. He was 3 minutes into his speech when Janet appeared. She didn't make a scene or cause a disruption. She simply walked calmly to the front of the room, carrying a manila envelope, and stood beside the podium. Trent faltered mid-sentence when he saw her. "Ladies and gentlemen," Janet said, taking the microphone from her stunned husband, "I apologize for the interruption, but I have an announcement to make." The room went dead silent. "My husband, Trent, has been having an affair with a woman named Sloane Kellerman. This is their 6th documented affair in our 12-year marriage." Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. I saw Sloane's face go white as everyone turned to look at her. "I have photographs, video evidence, hotel receipts, and credit card records documenting this affair," Janet continued. "I also have evidence of 5 previous affairs with other married women in this community." She opened the manila envelope and pulled out a stack of photographs. "I could share these with you tonight, but I'm not here for public humiliation. I'm here to make a business proposition." She turned to Trent, who was standing frozen beside the podium. "Trent, you have 2 choices. Option 1. I file for divorce tomorrow, release all of this evidence to the media, and take you for everything you're worth in court. Option 2. You sign these divorce papers right now, give me the house and half the business, and we end this quietly." She pulled a document from the envelope and set it on the podium. "You have 60 seconds to decide." The ballroom was so quiet I could hear the air conditioning running. Trent looked out at the crowd of his peers, his customers, his friends, all waiting to see what he would do. He signed the papers. "Thank you," Janet said, taking back the microphone. "I apologize again for the disruption. Please enjoy the rest of your evening." She walked out of the ballroom with her head held high, leaving Trent standing at the podium like a deer in headlights. The room erupted in chaos. People were talking, pointing, pulling out their phones to text and call friends who weren't there. I saw Sloane pushing through the crowd toward the exit, with Gina close behind. I followed them outside. "Sloane!" She turned around, her face streaked with tears and mascara. "Are you happy now?" she screamed. "Is this what you wanted?" "Actually, yeah, it is." "You destroyed my life." "No, Sloane, you destroyed your own life. I just stopped trying to save you from yourself." Gina stepped between us. "David, that's enough. Can't you see she's suffered enough?" "Has she? Because from where I'm standing, she's suffered exactly as much as she deserves." "You're being cruel." "I'm being honest. There's a difference." Sloane looked at me with pure hatred. "I hope you're satisfied. I hope this was worth destroying 15 years of marriage." "It wasn't 15 years of marriage, Sloane. It was 15 years of me being married to someone who was pretending to be married to me. Tonight just made that official." I turned and walked away, leaving them standing in the parking lot. As I drove home, I felt something I hadn't experienced in months. Peace. It was over. Really, truly over. Sloane and Trent had been publicly exposed. Janet had gotten her revenge and her divorce settlement, and I was finally free to move on with my life. My phone buzzed with a text message from Patricia, my lawyer. "Saw the news. Divorce papers will be ready for signature Monday. Congratulations." I smiled and put the phone away. For the first time in 15 years, I was exactly where I wanted to be. Epilogue. 6 months later, I was installing crown molding in the kitchen of my new house when Lou knocked on the front door. It was a modest place, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, nothing fancy, but it was mine. Completely, legally, financially mine. "Looking good," Lou said, surveying the work I'd done. "You've got a real talent for this." "Thanks. Coffee?" "Sure." We sat on the back deck, looking out at the small yard I was slowly landscaping. It was peaceful here, quiet except for the occasional sound of traffic from the main road. "How's your mom doing?" "Better every day. She's talking about selling her house and moving into one of those senior communities. That might be good for her." "Yeah, I think so too. Less maintenance, more social interaction." Lou sipped his coffee and studied my face. "You seem different, David. Happier." "I am happier." "Any regrets?" I thought about it for a moment. "About the divorce? No. About the way it ended? Sometimes, but not enough to change anything." "What about Sloane? You hear from her at all?" "Not since the gala. Patricia says she signed the divorce papers without any changes. No alimony, no claim on my business, responsible for her own debt. It was exactly what we offered 6 months ago." "And Trent?" "Heard he's selling cars at one of the big chain dealerships now. Janet got the luxury dealership in the divorce." Lou chuckled. "Karma's a..." "Sometimes." We sat in comfortable silence for a while, enjoying the afternoon sun. "You dating anyone?" Lou asked eventually. "Not yet. Still figuring out who I am as a single man." "Fair enough. No rush." After Lou left, I went back to work on the crown molding. It was detailed, precise work that required focus and patience, exactly the kind of thing that helped me stay centered. My phone rang around 4 p.m., unknown number. "David Kellerman?" "Yeah." "This is Dr. Sarah Mitchell at Metro General. Your mother asked me to call you." My heart skipped a beat. "Is she okay?" "She's fine. But she wanted me to tell you that a woman named Sloane has been trying to visit her. Your mother asked me to make sure you knew, and to ask if you wanted us to prevent these visits." "Yes, please. Add her to the no-visitor list." "Already done. Your mother was quite insistent." After I hung up, I sat on my front steps, thinking about Sloane trying to visit my mother. Was it genuine concern, or was she still hoping to somehow get back into the family's good graces? It didn't matter. That part of my life was over. My business was thriving. Word had gotten around about my attention to detail and fair pricing, and I had more work than I could handle. I was thinking about hiring an assistant, maybe even expanding into larger commercial projects. I was sleeping better than I had in years. I was eating better, exercising regularly, and rediscovering hobbies I'd abandoned during my marriage. I'd even started reading again, something I'd loved as a kid but had somehow lost along the way. Most importantly, I was being completely honest with myself and everyone around me. No more pretending things were fine when they weren't. No more putting other people's comfort ahead of my own well-being. It was a good life. Not perfect, not without challenges, but authentically mine. As the sun set behind the trees in my backyard, I went back inside to finish the crown molding. Tomorrow I would start on the bathroom renovation, and next weekend I was planning to build a deck off the master bedroom. Small projects, simple pleasures, honest work. For the first time in my adult life, I was exactly who I wanted to be,